Hello viewers, I hope this finds you well. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Zui, and before we continue, for those ones who are watching this for the first time, I want to request you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my videos. Drop a comment and share my video links out there. Now let's proceed. Our question here is on statistics, and the question wants us to compute for variance and standard deviation for grouped data. Now the question reads, find the variance and standard deviation of the following grouped data, which shows the masses in kgs or kilograms for grade 5 pupils. Now we have the masses with their classes, and we have the frequencies as they come. So let's see how we are going to compute for standard deviation and variance of this particular question. So just before that, remember in our previous class or lesson, we happened to look at what defined what variance is and what standard deviation is. So I would request you to go back to our previous videos, and it will give us the basis on how we are going to work out this one. Although the one that I tackled was on discrete data, but in this case data is continuous and the masses have been grouped into classes. So to attempt this question, we are going to come up with a table, the table that will have columns for classes, a column for midpoint, a column for frequency, a column for product of midpoint and the frequency, and a column for mean deviation, a deviation of the mean from the points, the values of x, and then the square of the mean deviation. And then lastly, we shall have a column that will have the product of the frequency of the mean deviation, frequency multiplied by the mean deviation squared. Then from there, we see how we can use now the formulas that have been provided to compute for standard deviation and variance. And first, again, I will also want to remind us that for us to compute for standard deviation, then it means we take the square root of the variance. So that means we shall first of all compute or calculate for variance, and once we get the variance, we can now work out our standard deviation. So straight away, let's draw our table. So this table here is going to assist us come up with the values that we need to use and the data that is going to be very useful when you want to compute for the two measures of dispersion that I've mentioned above. So let's first of all draw the table. We put our values and then we see what next. So we are going to have this first column, second column, third column, in that manner. We expect to have 7 columns, that's 1, 2, 3. We are remaining with 3. These are 4 already, so we have that. Then the second last one, and lastly so the first one is the classes, the second one is the midpoint, x, the third one is frequency, f. The fourth is multiplication or the product of frequency and x. And then the fifth one is the mean deviations. And then the other one, the sixth one, is the square of the mean deviations. Then we shall have the product of the mean deviation and the frequency. Mean deviation squared and the frequency. So those are the data the columns that we need. So we can put our data as it is in our question. The first one is 30 to 35, 36 to 41, 42 to 47, 48 to 53, 54 to 59. Midpoint is calculated by taking this plus this divided by 2. So if this one is added here, it becomes 32.5. And this plus this divided by 2, it becomes 38.5. And this plus this divided by 2 is 44.5. The trend is this and this and this. How are they related? This minus this gives you 6. This minus this gives you 6. I mean. So for you to get the next, you add 6 here. And this one becomes 50.5. And plus 6, this one becomes 56.5. That is the trend. Now next, let's include our frequency from our question. Frequency here is 3, 2, 4, 6, and 2. That is as per our question. Next, we take now x times f. That's the product of frequency and the midpoint. So if it this one multiplied by this, in this case you get 97.5. 2 times that 8.5, it gives you 77. Then we have 4 times 44.5, it gives you 178. Then 6 times 50.5, it gives you 6 times 50.5, it gives you 303. And then lastly, 2 times 56.5, it gives you 113. So now next is to get the mean deviations. That's how the difference between the values for x and the mean. How do we get the mean itself? We need first of all calculate the mean, put it somewhere here by x. It is the one we are going to use. How do you get the mean? Mean is given by bar of mean by x equals to summation of xf all over summation of f. Now it means we are going to add the total here to get summation of xf. What's the answer? We are going to compute and add. Now using our calculator, the answer here is 768.5 divided by summation of f, total frequency here. Total frequency is 3 plus 2, which is 5 plus 4, which is 9 plus 6, that is 15 plus 7, it gives you plus 2, it gives you 17. So divide by 17, the answer for the mean becomes 45.205. Now this 45.205 is the one we are going to be using. 45.205. It is the one that we are going to use for computation of the mean deviations on this column. So first is x, that 2.5 minus 45.205, and the answer here is negative 12.705. Next is that 8.5 minus 45.205, and the answer we get is negative 6.705. Next is 44.5 minus 45.205, and the answer here is negative 0.705. And the answer for the next one is 5.295. Next is 11.295. Now the next column is the squares of the mean deviations. So this one squared, we square this, it gives you 161.420. This one gives you 44.960. I'm just using a calculator, which you can confirm. This one gives you 0.497, and the square of this gives us 28.037, and the square of this gives us 127.587. The squares. Next one is we take the squares of the mean deviations multiplied by the frequency. So this 3 times 161.420, we get this on this row, and this one gives us 484.26, and this one is 89.32. This one you can confirm on your calculator. This one is 1.98, and this one here is 168.22. And lastly, if you multiply frequency times this square of mean deviation here, it gives us 255.17. So we are also going to get summation of f squares multiplied by squares of the mean deviation, summation of fx minus x prime bar x squared. This gives us the answer here as 998.95. 998.95. Remember, we got our xf here as 768.5, and then remember we also got this one. Now next we are going to calculate for variancy. Variancy is given by the following formula. It is given by summation of f into brackets x minus x prime squared, what we have calculated here, divided by summation of f minus 1, the total frequency minus 1. So we just substitute. The answer here is 998.95 divided by the total frequency 17, which is 17 minus 1. It gives us 16. So this one becomes the answer becomes simplified to 62.43. So 62.43 becomes our variancy or variancy. Now lastly, we need to calculate for standard deviation. Now, as I said earlier on, standard deviation is taken as the square root of variancy or variancy, and this one means we are taking square root of 62.43 to compute for our variancy. So square root becomes 7.901, and this one is the standard deviation. So that's how you are supposed to do the question, to work out the question as per the table. We follow the procedure as shown until we come up to the last part of it. Thank you very much for attending and for watching my video. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to subscribe. enjoy your time.